Hey, what's up? Jeff here. And as a starting point, I have 16 minutes for this video, so it's going to be pretty quick because I have to be on our senior management call in 16 minutes for Entre. But I want to talk real quick about something I learned as a musician that's one of the biggest reasons I've been really successful as an entrepreneur since I committed to it full time. And it basically has to do with time and focusing more on trajectory than like a fixed point in the distance. I guess I'll sum it up that way. But what I mean by that is, when I started in music, I started at 17. I started really late, and it was a decision. I said, I'm going to get really good at this thing because if I get good enough at this, I can get paid to do this, and I really enjoy it, and then I won't ever have to get a job. I just knew I didn't ever want to have a job. But because there was a level of mastery and a level of competence that I had in my mind that was required for me to A, be good enough to get paid for it, and B, be good enough to feel confident in doing it and not feel like I was just a hack. And I just kind of had this sublime vision of myself playing the instrument at a certain level. I was so fixated on the target and the distance that I actually broke myself trying to get there. I developed, over the course of my 20s, because I always felt like I was behind because I started so late. I developed arthritis in my wrist that to this day, like it's a cold and rainy day today, and I woke up with my wrist hurting. Like it hurts, it'll hurt forever because I pushed too hard. And when I say I pushed too hard, I didn't mean I cared too much. I didn't mean I drove too hard. What I meant was I drove too dumb. Like driving hard is always about doing the most disciplined, most intelligent thing, right? And sometimes obviously there's something to be said for just raw passion and go, but like it's even harder to go and be smarter. Like if you go and then you say, okay, hold on, we're still gonna go, but we're also gonna add some intelligence on top of it. That's even more difficult, right? So you have to be more driven to be hard driving and smart driving, right? And I drove to the point where I injured myself. And frankly, at this point, regardless of my talent or my plans for my life, I could never do this professionally now because I physically cannot handle the grind of practicing as much as I would need to because I have this damn arthritis that'll just never go away. And I created it. I'm 41. I got it in my late 20s from a decade of just pushing too hard without proper planning, patience, time. And so what I see is a lot of people do this with entrepreneurship. They get into entrepreneurship and they're like, I got to make $10,000 a month in the next 12 months, or I promised my wife if I don't hit that goal, then I'm out and I'll just keep my job and hopefully get a nice pension. I'm retired 40 years, which let me know how that works. For most people, that's a terrible plan. But we create this arbitrary pressure. It's like by this time I must have this result, and I'm going to drive and I'm going to break myself against the pressure of an arbitrary deadline. And we might spend money we don't have, we might get reckless, we might make bad decisions, we might take shortcuts, we might just not love the process enough to do all the little things right. That's frankly usually what the challenge is. If you create this arbitrary deadline and you're so fixated on it in the future, you don't love the process, you're going to skip a lot of the little stuff. Fortunately, I loved music, but I wasn't smart enough at that age to not have an arbitrary deadline that I ultimately broke myself against. So when I got into entrepreneurship, it was like, okay, I'm going to take all the things I did right in music, all the love of the little things and the mastery and the tone and the improvisation and the ability to adapt and listen and respond, all the good stuff I did in music, but I'm not going to break myself. I'm going to go as hard as I can right up to the boundary of smart, but when I get to the boundary of smart, I'm going to switch from hard to smart, and I'm going to be smart. And I'm not going to break myself. And I'll take risks, but the risks will be calculated bets on myself, right? Not just reckless, the kind of recklessness that we might be tempted to do if we have an arbitrary deadline and we feel like the clock is ticking, right? So let me give you an example. I've been out of town for a week. Before that, I was under the gun on a deadline. I don't think I have actually touched my piano in 2 weeks. Prior to that, I was working on this piece, this Brahms Rhapsody in G minor, and I'm warming up, like literally, other than a few minutes this morning before I started this video, I haven't played in like 2 weeks. So when I left 2 weeks ago, I was about at this pace with this piece. I was about... This is about where I can comfortably play it and not just have it sound like... I don't know if you can hear me. That's about where I could comfortably play it and not have it sound like just a total mash of missing notes and just trying to rush, right? I've been gone for 2 weeks. I came back this morning. I'm not warm at all. That's why I'm like warming up my hands. And now I'm smart enough to know not to play too much without being warm at all. Because again, I know what it feels like to break yourself. But this is where I'm at after 2 weeks away. Starting to mash apart there. And if I had more time, I'd play the whole piece for you. But 2 weeks of not touching this thing. And I got better. I got faster. And even the parts where I know I need to work, it's like... That's one right there. Right there. There's so much going on so quickly, but yet staying relaxed, right? Like to get to where, even here, and I'm not, it's not perfect yet. If I was performing this, I might need another month or two to get it just dialed, and it's a longer piece than what I just played. But to be able to pop that stuff that fast, staying relaxed enough to be able to get the speed of motion, right? It's taken me, I started when I was 17, I'm 41. Now, admittedly, I took about 10 years off to deal with the financial issues. Frankly, I was kind of bummed because I hurt myself and I knew I couldn't play as much as I wanted to. And I really only started playing again a couple years ago, but still I've got 20 plus years history. Equate that to being an entrepreneur. Like, it just takes time and you have to give it space to breathe. You get better in the space. 2 weeks I haven't touched this thing. And I've probably added 20 beats a minute to what I can play it at. And obviously, again, there's refinement that's still needed. But you just can't be in such a hurry. Because the universe doesn't care that you're in a hurry. It takes what it takes. And you have to love the process. And you have to learn to be relaxed and be fluid and not be so tense. And not so obsessed with getting this outcome that makes it okay or defensible or takes away your shame around the decision to try this alternative thing or takes away your embarrassment or helps you defend yourself to what you perceive to be the judgments of others. That's all arbitrary external stuff that you put on top of it, and it creates stress and it creates force and it creates a locked, rigid way about you that I know from experience, because the way I would have tried to learn this piece before I learned this lesson would have been so much more locked in my structure. It's the reason I got the damn arthritis. It's the reason I broke myself, is because I used to be so rigid. And when you're rigid and you force it, and when you force it, you break. So I know most people watching this have no desire to be a professional musician. But most of the people watching this do have a desire to create their own way in this world, to generate income, to have choice, to have flexibility, to break out of the matrix, and to be in control of their own lives. And because they feel so much pressure to achieve that, a lot of you will put arbitrary goals on yourselves and arbitrary deadlines that you will break yourself against. And 2 years from now, or 5 years from now, or whenever you finally break, you'll be to entrepreneurship what I was to music, which is a sad case of saying, I literally can't do it anymore because it hurts. And so, for me, I've had to let go of my ultimate, what was a deep passion for me at one point of being a professional musician. But that's okay, because that actually moved me into my next thing and finding what I was truly meant to do in this world. But if something broke me from being an entrepreneur, if I broke myself against an arbitrary deadline, if I ran myself aground to the place where I couldn't do that anymore, I had to re-plug into the matrix, I had to go start passing out my resume. No, that'd be death to me. And if you're in my world and you resonate with what I say, it's probably because it feels for you not like a death, but like waiting for life to get out of that. So don't break yourself. Don't be in such a hurry or to create these arbitrary deadlines that are usually based on the opinions of others, that you smash up against them and you ultimately shatter your future. For me, it was just arthritis in my wrist, but entrepreneurship, the stakes are higher than playing the piano. Entrepreneurship, you'll break your whole future. You'll shatter it against this idea of my friends or my coworkers will think I'm a loser if I don't have X result within 12 months. Why are you giving them that much power? Anyway, I got 4 minutes to prep for my call. I should go. I hope this lands. Thank you.